Republicans are gay. The gayest. Gayer than Democrats, leftists, even gayer than pride parades, even gayer than me. Or at least that's what the comments on a recent video of mine seem to be implying. Let's listen to them now.
I mean, they do have a very bad habit of crashing the Grindr app wherever they congregate.
There's a reason Grindr crashes every time conservatives who are vehemently anti-gay hold any large event.
Republican events tend to crash Grindr far too often for it to be a coincidence.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I didn't know that. And I still don't, and neither do you, because none of those comments are true. They're real comments, but they aren't describing something that actually happens. These are all comments from a video I made a while back called Are All Homophobes Gay?, where I carefully walked through how the assumption that all homophobes are just repressed gays is anti-science, reductive, harmful, and ultimately lets the Straggots off the hook for a system of oppression they both built and maintain. And people watched that video, or at least clicked on it, and said,
I would believe your thesis in this video, except I know you're wrong, because there's one specific phenomena that proves you incorrect. Grindr crashes at every Republican rally.
Which, as a meme, I can find the humor in. I get it. I'm not made of stone. I'm half person on my parents' side. But question, is it true? Like, has Grindr actually crashed at multiple Republican events? Not gotten busier or slowed down or seen a usage spike in an area that just had over 50,000 additional humans arrive in it. Actually crashed. Servers down, can't use the app because it couldn't bear the load of all the loads being bared. Because the way people talk about this, you'd think Mike Pence, whoever that is personally DDoSing Grindr's backend every time he's in a Marriott with free Wi-Fi. Look.
Everywhere they go, Grindr crashes.
Why does Grindr always crash when there's a Republican convention or
Charlie
event?
Kirk's funeral, the
Calling
outcry.
Republicans gay is homophobic. Reality. Every major RNC-style gathering of the dipshits crashes Grindr servers every tile.
I mean, it seems really true because not a single person is using any qualifiers here about it being a theory or a possibility. In fact, it's the opposite. This is a proven trend that is consistent enough to be mostly predictable. You know, like the sun rises in the whatever or whatever. Something we know to be true because it's happened so many times. But again, is this true? Does any large gathering of Republicans crash Grindr, or is this some sort of sick liberal cope dripping with homophobia? I'm Reverend Dr. Caelan Conrad, psychic ghost doctor and full-time faggot, and you are watching Myth Gapers. Part 1, the claim. Okay, before we get into what actually happened, or more accurately, what didn't actually happen, let's firm up the mythology here, because it's not just Grindr gets busier. That's not the story people are telling. The story people are telling is so much better than that, which is exactly the problem. Here's a claim as it exists in the collective queer consciousness. Every time that, and that's a big part of it, it's every time, not sometimes, not occasionally, every time Republicans hold a major event, whether that's the Republican National Convention, CPAC, a Trump rally, a particularly heated Senate hearing, presumably some sort of all-meat potluck, Grindr crashes. He goes down, he's on his knees, gurping and gluggling, eyes rolled into the back of his head, brain explodes, ceases to function, dead under the weight of this huge Republican load. The servers, overwhelmed by the sheer repressed faggotry radiating from the Marriott Convention Center, simply give up. And the implication, which is usually not stated outright, simply because it doesn't need to be, is that this happens because the attendees of these events, the people who vote against our rights, who campaign against our existence, who build their entire political careers on the idea that queer people are a threat to the American nuclear family, they all check into their hotel, throw on their CPAC lanyard and open Grindr and start shamelessly looking for someone to ruin their tight hole just as violently as Republicans govern. And as a narrative, like in a work of fiction, no notes from a storytelling perspective. It's a little fantastical, but if this were a movie, I'd watch it. I'd even review it on my letterbox, where I think I'm particularly insightful. But this isn't a movie, and I know that because I can't find it on any torrenting sites. It's also not treated as a meme. This is an actual claim people repeat with increasing confidence, and it's gone from "we think Grindr went down at one conference with limited evidence," but evidence, to "there's a reason Grindr crashes every time conservatives who are vehemently anti-gay hold any large event." And it's set as a truth we all just know happens. It's a known property of the universe. Gravity pulls pants down, water freezes at 0 degrees Canadian, Republicans crash Grindr. It's just natural law at this point. To be fair, at least one of the dozens of comments I've received recently about this did assert that it wasn't every time. Republican events tend to crash Grindr far too often for it to be a coincidence. That's not saying every time. I like this one because it preempts the counter argument and then it dismisses it right off the top without any attempt to justify it using information like how many times is too often? How frequent is too often? Can they point to even a single time this has been proven to be anything but, as they mentioned, possibly a coincidence? With any concrete evidence? Can anyone? Let's find out. I have a theory that my internet provider knows me better than my own mother does. Actually, that's not a theory at all. Unlike her, they know what I buy, where I go, and exactly how many hours I spend watching how-to videos for hobbies I've started and immediately become obsessed with. It feels like someone is constantly creeping over my shoulder, because they are, and quite frankly, I'm over it. So I started using Proton VPN because Proton is actually led by a foundation dedicated to privacy. And they're based in Switzerland, which has some of the strongest privacy laws on the planet. And their code is entirely open source. That means no secrets or hidden backdoors, and most importantly, definitely no logs of what you're doing online. It's also incredibly fast. We're talking up to 22 gigabytes per second. I use it to bypass regional blocks designed to keep innocent Canadians like me out and watch international streaming services without ever seeing a hateful little buffering icon. Plus, their built-in ad blocker kills ads and trackers before they even load, so the internet actually feels clean. You deserve an internet where you aren't the product being sold to the highest bidder. So support a movement for a more open web by clicking the link in the description and checking out Proton VPN. It's high speed, it's high security, and it's the easiest way to finally tell advertisers to mind their own business. Protect your privacy and try Proton VPN today with an exclusive offer of up to 70% off at protonvpn.com/Caelan Conrad. Okay, let's get back to it. Part 2. The evidence. So I did something deeply unfashionable when it comes to talking points that reinforce a worldview you subscribe to. I examined them. I know I'm disgusting. Little Miss Buzzkill. But I did it so you don't have to. And here's what I found. Let's start with the urtext, the Genesis event, the day this all started. It's July 2016 in a place called Cleveland, Ohio. Named after the character Ohio from Family Man. 50,000 people are arriving for the RNC and have descended upon the city like ants when a dog drops a freshie. And shortly after, articles started popping up. Grindr was lit at the RNC. Why was so much gay sex happening at the Republican National Convention? According to this article, Grindr revealed that usage around the convention center was consistently above the average, starting when people started arriving for the RNC. Activity near the convention center in Cleveland on Wednesday night was 166% higher than normal. And on Sunday night, before the convention festivities officially began, Grindr use shot up 120% relative to previous evenings, suggesting the city experienced a sudden influx of Grindr users. And it has this handy little graphic, which tells us, well, not much, because without actual numbers, an additional 120%, 270% doesn't do much for me. I'd actually expect it to be higher than that personally, because I don't know if anyone has considered this, but a huge chunk of the people at the RNC are not Republicans. It was Republicans, of course, but it was also a shit ton of everyone from journalists to custodians to servers to media crew, assistants, people from other political parties, family members, friends, security. Like, there's a lot of people there. Even if there wasn't a single Republican on Grindr during this event, which there definitely was, I'd expect an influx of users around the convention center because that's what happens when there's a convention. People gather. And gay people are people. I don't know if you know this. It's brand new. You're hearing it here first. I'm not particularly moved by the actual headline, which is basically a gay app that shows nearby people shows more people when more people are nearby. More at 11. And throughout the years, and every year, you'll see reports that there were a bunch more people on Grindr near the conventions that Republicans hold, which, sure, yeah. There are gay Republicans who want to cheat on their wives and suckle a little dickle and gargle some veins. Fun fact, in every single group of people, some of them will not be straight. They even have an out gay group with a name and a little play area and everything, the Log Cabin Republicans. They aren't hiding, at least not those ones. But the claim isn't some Republicans are gay, even though Republicans are homophobic. It's Republicans are so gay they crash Grindr when the Democratic conventions and rallies don't. Republicans are so gay that 50,000 of them have a high enough percentage of gay people that they take down gay hookup apps that work during Pride weeks, where literally millions of people are suddenly descending upon a city for a specifically queer event. 50,000 Republicans visiting a city are so gay they can take down a service that bears the loads of millions of people visiting it, looking to share their loads. So keeping that in mind, let's look at the other examples, like the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC. CPAC often takes place at the stunning Gaylord resorts and convention centers, and I won't make a joke about that because I'm above it. So CPAC happens at the resort, and unlike the RNC, it's annual, so we have the opportunity to gather a lot more data for it. But there's not really any. In fact, when you go looking for people even discussing this, prior to less than 2 years ago, there's barely any discussion at all. It just hadn't entered the cultural zeitgeist until July of 2024, like the way it has now, at least from what I can see from Twitter, YouTube, and Google Trends. Can I say, I find craft so sexy. I looked at this and I was just like, oh, talk to me, show me things I'm too stupid to understand without pictures. Oh, see this huge spike in searches? Well, that's July 2024, which makes perfect sense because on July 15th, 2024, the 2024 RNC happened. And that's where this whole thing really takes hold, because this is the only actual time people can point to where there's anything resembling evidence that Grindr went down. And it started when the CEO and or owner of Grindr called the RNC the gay Super Bowl.
Breaking. An executive of the gay dating app Grindr says the Republican National Convention is basically Grindr's Super Bowl.
And the internet loved it.
Journalists dream of breaking stories, and this is the one I wish I could have broken.
RNC is basically the biggest gathering of LGBTQ people nationwide. How heartwarming.
Well, duh. They're all hard for Trump's dick. They're all gay. How are you only realizing this now?
Faggot.
Oh! Well, all right. So anyway, that's a satire account. You can tell because it says satire on it. Halfway true comedy and satire. I don't report the facts, I improve them. That doesn't matter. Because the post had already been viewed, well, a lot. Who knows how much, because Twitter lies about that shit, but it was a lot, and now it had already become part of the narrative.
The owner of Grindr says for them, the RNC is the equivalent of the Super Bowl.
The head of the company said it was the gay Super Bowl.
Laugh out loud. Grindr said the RNC is their Super Bowl. Closeted gay is worse than openly gay.
That's so funny. I didn't know that was true, and I still don't. The fake quote from the Grindr CEO went out on July 15th. By July 17th, George Santos was reporting on it as if it were true.
So, Grindr executives are calling the RNC convention the Grindr Super Bowl. Just come out the closet, boys! Come on! It's fun! You can be gay and conservative.
And a day later, by the 18th, a narrative surfaced about outages.
Grindr dating app crashes in Milwaukee during Republican National Convention.
The RNC being a secret LGBTQ event large enough to crash Grindr is the funniest plot twist of 2024.
Republicans crash #Grindr at RNC.
The evidence provided was a page of problem reports that's inaccessible now, where around 1,000 users said the app was down around 4 p.m. The main image circulating was a map of America with all the outages for the past 24 hours for the entire country, and a bunch of issues reported all over it, each in a major city, most of them without the RNC happening in them. They even had to single out the one that they were talking about because there's another unrelated one not at the RNC directly beside it. These are all self-reported issues, of course. That's how Down Detector works and has no access to Grindr server data in any way. And you don't have the option to choose an outage versus an issue loading or freezing or whatever. It's literally just a single click. You go to the Grindr Down Detector page and choose from app, login, messaging, profile, or website, and that's it. You don't even have to click submit. So there's no actual evidence they were saying the app itself was down. It could have been messages not going through or profiles not loading quickly, or it could have been the app just wasn't functioning at all. We don't have that info. Grindr, however, does publicly post on a website when their servers are having issues, and you can scroll back anytime and look through them. And Grindr chat did go down in July, on July 20th for 3 hours, 2 days after the RNC had ended. During the convention, people were posting photos and videos of their Grindr feeds looking for gay Republicans near or at the conference, but there's no way to know if they took those photos during the period it was said to go down for, because nobody can even seem to point to how long it was down for. So I don't know. If it did go down for any period of time, there's no solid proof of it. I do believe that There are verified reports of glitching, profiles not loading, messages having to be like resent. So it sounds overloaded. I don't know if that's considered crashing, but maybe. It's possible. But the evidence is far less compelling than the narrative. But when you're really just in it for the narrative, evidence is something that gets ignored. Apparently, there's a second bit of evidence, which is this image labeled Grindr outages reported in the last 24 hours. It has no provenance other than being from Down Detector and does not say where it's occurring. The post claims it's for the entirety of Milwaukee, and I'm inclined to believe it's likely real, but also kind of meaningless when it's for all of Milwaukee. And what I thought might clear this up for people, a year later, Grindr CEO George Arison would be interviewed by Unheard, and he said this about the whole huge media storm that started with a false quote attributed to him.
That was not just a meme, it's true.
There was a meme because we didn't crash, but yes, it is actually true that there was a significant spike in usage in Milwaukee during the convention.
But his little words would fall on unwilling ears because Grindr crashes RNC every year is still going to be the narrative. This was the one event people were actually able to point to as having some evidence for the claim that it happens every time, and it just falls short. The same thing happened with the Charlie Kirk Memorial, but with even less evidence this time. About 168 people reported Grindr was down in Arizona, up to like 20 miles away from the memorial, according to Yahoo. And much like the last time, there were much larger groups of reports of issues all over the country. And of course, no actual outage around the time of the memorial is on Grindr's status page. Keep in mind that now that this is a meme, literally anyone with the tiniest bit of understanding of a browser can put on a VPN and go contribute, as a joke, Grindr is down at Charlie Kirk's memorial report by using a VPN, as I said, or even just living in the area. I did it earlier today just to see how easy it would be. So all of that, I have to say, totally boring to research because I don't care if Grindr crashed. I don't find that interesting. I hate Grindr. Love filthy anonymous sex, of course. I'm only inhuman. But Grindr is a shit scam company who exploits the most vulnerable people amongst us. The horny. What is interesting to me is not why people believe that any large group of Republicans crash Grindr like they're an EMP, but why people want to believe it, even when confronted with the reality. Part 3. Just desserts. So the debunk, that's just the appetizer. The real meal here is, why is this so pervasive? Why do so many people left of the right hold on to this so tightly? In my video, Are All Homophobes Gay?, I get into the science behind this because it's been tested. The answer is no, but it's also a lot more interesting than no, so you should check it out. If you find the science of hooking people's dicks up to computers and showing them porn fascinating, I did. But building on that essay and what we've discussed today as a prime example of a narrative born from the homophobes are secretly just gay trope, I want to examine why it's so resistant to correction. And why people that are otherwise usually media literate and concerned with truth over comforting myths might grab onto this with both hands and refuse to let go. And I'm including myself in this. The first time I heard the Grindr crash thing, I laughed. I'm not coming to you from moral superiority. I'm coming to you from a position of, I also fell for this, and then felt annoyed about it, and made it everyone else's problem in the form of a video essay, because I think the truth is actually a more effective political weapon than a lie. So why does this work? I think there are 4 main reasons, ranging from understandable to, I'm not sure that's healthy, babe. The first reason, it feels good. Queer people are constantly on the receiving end of right-wing politics in a material, tangible way. These aren't abstract disagreements. These are people who've campaigned on the premise that your love is invalid, your identity is a disorder, your existence is a threat to children. And when the power imbalance is that stark, there is something extremely satisfying about the idea that the oppressor, who thinks they're so much better than you, is nothing but a fraud. They can't even meet their own bar for deserves rights. It's the political equivalent of the bully has a crush on you. We're told that story from childhood, so when someone offers an adult political version, they're homophobic because they're secretly a homosexual, we're already primed and lubed, and it slides right into how we understand the world. And suddenly, the power dynamic feels more manageable. They're just pathetic, self-hating gays. I'm not scared of that. And it feels good. It feels true. And that's the exact kind of story that goes viral, regardless of whether it's based on evidence. The Republicans crash Grindr when they gather claim has every quality of what misinformation researchers call sticky. As in, it's sticky. It sticks to your brain. And it does so even after you learn the truth. Researchers call this the continued influence effect, CIE. It's a cognitive phenomenon where misinformation continues to influence a person's reasoning and beliefs even after it has been clearly and credibly retracted. The paper posits that people continue to use misinformation because on some level, they feel it is still relevant or useful, even if they know it's false. This paper frames this not just as a problem of forgetting the correction or new information, but as a problem where the feeling of familiarity and narrative coherence from the original misinformation overrides the factual knowledge of its retraction. We believe because it feels true. And you'll see this under any post that's been debunked. People who fell for it will say something like, well, it might as well be true, or this case might be false, but this really happened, so it might as well be true. And in a way, it is true. Like, yeah, but in another way that isn't nonsense, it isn't. But it doesn't matter. Once it's in your head, it's often hard to get rid of, especially when it's gone so viral that you've seen people talking about it from all directions. Each time, your new worldview being compounded and cemented. And this, it went viral. And I get why. 1, it's funny, and funny stories spread faster than boring ones. 2, it's ironic. 3, we have a clear villain being a hypocrite. People love an exposed hypocrite because 4, it feels like justice. It's someone we see as a threat getting caught in the act, exposed for their lies. They finally get their just desserts. And on top of that, it's easy to believe because it's 5, just plausible enough even for a skeptic. There's a kernel of truth to this. There are anti-gay politicians who have been caught and outed. That is the thing that has happened and will happen again. Larry Craig, the airport bathroom, Ted Haggard, the megachurch pastor with the male sex worker, George Reckers, the ex-gay activist who was caught with a male companion he hired from rentboy.com. These are real people. These things really happened. This is not made up. But here's what happens. Larry Craig gets caught, and that becomes a data point. Ted Haggard gets caught, and that becomes another data point. And then someone hears about Grindr being busy at the RNC, and that becomes another data point. And suddenly you've got what feels like a pattern. Far too often for it to be a coincidence, as my commenter said. Except it is a coincidence. Or rather, it's a handful of real things and a bunch of unverified things all being smushed together into a narrative that feels coherent, but isn't actually supported by the data. It's pattern recognition where there isn't really a pattern. It's our brains doing what our brains do, which is taking scattered points and drawing a line through them and going, see, it's a horse. It just sounds true. And often with things that sound true because we want to believe them to be true, because it makes us feel correct and wise and prescient, well, the truth can't really compete with that. This video will likely get a fraction of the engagement of a video from a similar sized channel repeating the claim, lol, Grindr crashed at RNC. The correction is always less viral than the claim. I've accepted it. I'm at peace. Well, not at peace. I'm making a video about it because I can't let things go, but theoretically, I'm at peace. We make fun of the right for spreading misinformation. Justifiably, they spread it like it's their job, which for some, I think it literally is. I often see both liberals and the left say that reality has a liberal or leftist bias. I see people who pride themselves on being on the side that cares about facts. And then we spread a completely unverified claim because it's funny and it feels true. I know the scale is different. Grindr crashes at RNC is not equivalent to election denial or COVID misinformation. Please don't put that in my comments. I can already see it. She thinks a Grindr meme is the same as January 6th. I don't. Please, I don't think about January 6th at all. I'm not an American. I'm a doctor. But it's the same muscle. The willingness to believe something because it confirms your worldview. To let a claim escalate from rumor to assume fact because nobody in your community is willing to be the buzzkill who says, do we have a source for that? Not a source, there are gay Republicans because I've never denied that. There are all sorts of gay, bi, or pan, or whatever, not straight men inside the conservative movement. Not as infiltrators, as members. People who go to CPAC because they believe in limited government or gun rights or whatever the stated bullshit platform is that week, and who have made some kind of internal arrangement with themselves about what that means. Some closeted, some out but compartmentalized, some in that weird liminal space where certain people know and others don't, and they built this whole architecture of selective honesty they maintain every day, which I imagine for a Republican is a very practiced skill. And some of them, yes, do open Grindr at the hotel after conference sessions end. Not because they're cartoon villains performing hypocrisy for entertainment, because they're people, shitty, complicated, contradictory, probably not very happy people who exist in a political structure that tells them they're broken so often that the only time they think they can express themselves is on an app in a hotel room in a city they'll leave in 3 days. And while I carry no water for people who choose to be fucking bigots, I find that all to be way more pathetic than funny. Conservatives, Republicans, fascists, homophobes, racists, they all give us so much real material every day, genuinely unhinged, completely verifiable material. Things they say on camera, legislation they introduce with their names on it. They're often stupid as shit and loud as fuck about it, and we are drowning in real, citable evidence of their hostility towards queer people. We don't need the Grindr thing. We have stuff that's true and funny, stuff that holds up under scrutiny and makes them look terrible, because they are. But what they aren't is overwhelmingly gay. That's me, baby. And they can't have it. Okay. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment telling me I'm wrong. I know you're going to. It's fine. Just let the video play for at least 30 seconds every time you come back to argue. Support queer art, babe. Speaking of queer art, I have a horror audio drama coming out this year that takes the real dangers of AI grooming and pushing people to hurt themselves or others and forces people to examine if they'd be so dismissive of it if it were a person causing the harm. It's called Welcome to Isaiah, and the crowdfunding for it went amazing. And you should follow the channel on YouTube and social media so you can stay up to date when it's released. And actually, if you're a fan of the channel, please do. It would mean a lot to me. It's in the description and up here somewhere. I don't know. Watch the trailer. Episode 0 just dropped, and it's sick as hell. I'm writing it with my friend Brona from the channel Brona's Gay, who just released an amazing video essay with the unhinged got milk ads from the 90s. Apparently, I don't know if you've heard, but the economy is like bad. So if the economy isn't killing you specifically, please sign up for my Patreon. I'm currently working on a few investigations, so if you want to follow along with those and get secret information not available anywhere else, you can sign up for a membership on Patreon or YouTube and see them happening live on my members' Discord. Sharing the video, even your mom, tells stupid YouTube that this video is worth watching. So after liking and subscribing, do me a cute, huge favor and do that. Check out my podcast, Respect the Dead, where we talk shit about dead people who sucked. Like Fred Christ Trump, Charlie Kirk, Elon Musk's granddaddy, the racist who made Dilbert, and sex offender, Coco the Gorilla. I also have merch. It's cute as hell. Look at it. Something tells me you look so good in it. Bear my load bearing shirt and hat. See you in the next one. Love you.